Welcome back. This room's pretty full. No pressure, Ben. But a little bit of pressure. It's a breakout, but it's full. See? You're okay. All right, welcome back to the Middleware main auditorium. We are about to embark on a journey to the future without Doc and Marty McFly, but with this guy instead. I would love to warmly welcome our next speaker, Ben Reid. And if you've ever dared to wonder what the future and what you want the future to look like and what you can do to shape it for Aotearoa and its people and ecosystems, this is what Ben does all the time. He's going to explain why we are heading into a poly crisis. That's going to be interesting. Challenge if we are ready as a nation for this, and how we can shape our future rather than have it shaped for us. Ben is a technology futurist. I was telling my son that I'm introducing a futurist, and he said, "Can you ask him how many YouTube subscribers I will have on my channel in 2040? I said, "YouTube probably won't be around in 2040, but millions, but they'll be bots or something." Here to talk to us today about how emerging technology is defining the future of New Zealand and what we can do about it. I hope your flux capacitors are charged for this one. Get ready to harness your curiosity, be cautiously optimistic, and a little bit on high alert, all at the same time. Please welcome Ben Reid.
Kia ora, everybody. Thank you very much, Pep. Just fantastic to be here. It's great to see so many familiar faces, and as some of you will know, I was involved with Canterbury Tech. I've been involved for years, but we ran the conferences after the earthquake and out at the Addington Raceway, where you would look down to the distance to the left and see this, and then look down to the right, and it's like 2 rows back. So it's great to finally to be in a proper venue. Kia ora, Ben Reid, toko ingoa, and there are 16 different AI-generated versions of me. There's a tool called profilepicture.ai that you can just upload about 20 photos of yourself, and then it will sort of churn through and give you a bunch of virtual versions of yourself. So I sort of like turning myself into, as Raf was saying earlier, a sort of AI-generated cartoon character at the moment. And the other side of that, of course, is I gave all my biometric data to a honeypot website out on the internet. Didn't think of it. As Pip was saying, I work at a sort of intersection of technology and strategy with a bunch of businesses, organisations throughout Aotearoa and in the wider region. And I'm probably best known for my weekly newsletter, Memia, now, which goes out. A few people subscribe. So you can sign up there at memia.substack.com. But that's basically just looking at, scanning what's going on in emerging tech every week, right at the very edge. So my other main project over the last year has been to write a book, and hilariously, in the year that anybody can just get ChatGPT to write a book for them, and it's actually quite an involved process. But the topic of the book is really about how emerging technology, exponential technology, is defining. It's going to define the future of Aotearoa New Zealand, and how we maybe can prepare ourselves a bit better for that. And so this is the first time I've given this talk, and so let's see how much I can squeeze into my 26 minutes now before lunch. So the fundamental question that I'm asking in the book is, if we fast forward 10, 20, 50 years, what might Aotearoa look like? Yep. And then what do we want it to look like? And how do we leverage new technologies to help us to get there? And as a self-styled futurist, my observation is that Aotearoa spends quite a lot of time looking backwards to the past, but not so much thinking about the future. So we've inherited a lot of legacy cultural, political, legal, economic systems and institutions from the past. These include Te Tiriti, right, which dates from 1840. That's over 170 years ago. And that's when there were only 82,000 people in the whole country. And the complexities and reparations are still being worked through today, 170 years later. We've still got a constitutional monarchy with a British head of state still on the other side of the world. We have the King's birthday now. We do have a representative democracy. We have MMP, but we have MPs in a 100-year-old debating chamber, parliamentary chamber, with hardly anybody watching. We still vote on paper or by post, when most of us do everything else in our lives over the internet with computers or phones. And we have an economy, we have an export economy. This is how we provide value to the rest of the world that follows a business template that was set by the first frozen meat first frozen meat shipment in 1882. And the primary sector, as you can see, this is images from the excellent Observatory of Economic Complexity. So it's like a pile of economic data from all over the world. But you can see here that basically primary sector, so it's protein. We export protein, unprocessed wood, and fruit and wine. Nothing wrong with that, but we import petroleum and manufactured goods and technology. And so, and if you look at this from a services point of view, that was products, these are services from the same site. Our export economy is dominated by tourism, and we do have a nascent, fantastic, thriving, bubbling technology sector, but it's still only about $1 billion of exports, and that's more than we import. So, when I look at these two diagrams, I just ask, what do we want the shape of our economy to look like in 10 or 20 or more years' time? And so fundamentally right now, I would say that our country is running on strategic cruise control. We're assuming that the cultural, political, legal, economic systems, institutions that we've inherited from the past are going to be fit for purpose to deal with an increasingly uncertain future that we're heading towards. And if I put my technologist lens on it, I just see these inherited systems and institutions as legacy technologies in need of an upgrade. So, as I said, it's an uncertain future. Are we bracing ourselves for the forthcoming polycrisis? So in the book, I haven't got time to go into all of these in detail today, but I basically look at several of the major polycrisis themes and how they're going to potentially impact Aotearoa and the rest of the world. Key among these are climate change, biodiversity loss, demographic change, and geopolitical tensions. So I don't really need to talk about climate change because we're just seeing every day in the news from all around the world major climate events now, especially in the Northern Hemisphere. So wildfires, floods, major storms, basically causing multi-billion-dollar insurance claims. And here in Aotearoa, this just came out a couple of weeks ago. The storms in the North Island early this year is now up to $2 billion. And yet we still have political parties, the inertia in the system, basically promising to build tens of billions of dollars more highways, which forget about the amount of carbon emissions that's going to drive up, continue. But the actual cost of maintaining and paying for those when they get washed away by the next storm with the increased risk of storms. So I say there's so much inertia in our system, and our institutions are just not able to move fast enough with the times. And I don't really want to put a big downer on everybody's day, but we're at the beginning stages of what looks like being the 6th mass extinction in Earth's history. And this is a report from 2021 from leading ecological scientists about underestimating the challenges of avoiding a ghastly future. And it starkly illustrates how threatened many species are already around the world. And this is going to affect humanity, right? So the likelihood of overshoot, where humanity's ecological footprint exceeds the carrying capacity of the planet, is increasing every day. And yet this is not part of our mainstream political debate. And just one other area of, there's growing geopolitical uncertainty. Does anyone notice anything about this map? I spent so many hours when I was an undergraduate playing Risk on an Apple Mac. And so I just know this game inside out. And it's the classic game where you basically try to invade territories using armies that you build up. And this is still in play today, right? So the world is a very unstable place. We've got wars happening, obviously, in Ukraine, but elsewhere you've got military coups happening in West Africa, and ongoing tensions between the US and China. And so Aotearoa's ability to walk the tightrope between selling commodity exports to the Chinese market and then maintaining a security alliance with the US is getting more and more tenuous by the day. And so you will all be aware now that the Pacific region is pretty much in play geopolitically. And so we're going to have to make some significant decisions soon. And are we equipped with the technologies and with the institutions to make those decisions wisely? So in summary, it's a really VUCA world out there. It's one of my favorite words. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And that's before we come to exponentially advancing technology. So this is my field. So underlying all of my thinking about technology is that, as per Ray Kurzweil's law of accelerating returns, the rate of technology change is speeding up exponentially. And in practice, what this means is the quantum of technological change, say in the last 16 years since the iPhone was first launched, is likely to happen in maybe only 3 to 5 years' time coming from now. So, technology, fundamentally, technology speeds up the development of new technology. And I don't know about you, but I just feel this happening around me now every day. So I'm going to take you through just a quick whirlwind tour of some examples here. So, the key example in the last year, and what I spend a lot of time talking about now, is generative AI. And under the generative AI, the key example here is large language models, so ChatGPT. ChatGPT went to 100 million users within 2 months. That's the fastest distribution of any application on the planet, until Threads, Meta Threads earlier this year, but Threads went like that and then like that. And there's a number of different large language models out there. Sort of Google's Bard, Claude from Anthropic, Llama from Meta now is open source, and I'll talk about the benefits of open source development later on. But there's pretty much a new version of a large language model coming out every day now. And similarly for large image models, right? So we've seen DALL-E 2 come through. We've seen a number of Imagen from Google. But then from about March this year with Midjourney 5, it's now pretty much impossible to distinguish photographs from AI-generated images. And look, this is fantastic, right? So you can explore, all of the images, in that these models have been trained on. This is me thinking about what it might be like to live, in the future. This is another one. This is a future high-functioning society, people thriving in nature, enabled by artificial intelligence technology 2030. Imagined by Stable Diffusion. I just, somewhere in that model, if you talk about thriving in nature, there's this architectural style with the wood there is in the model somewhere, and I'm not quite sure what's going on with the perfectly pruned trees. And then, but somewhere in there, it's got the idea of people enjoy nature by sitting down and looking at it. So, not sure what's going on there. But with these technologies come risks and challenges, and this is a lot of debate happening now around the impact of deepfake media coming through. This was the National Party put out a sort of deepfake Ram Raiders ad right at a few months ago, and I actually was talking to Sharon Brett Kelly on RNZ there about the potential challenges in our election campaign this year. So far, I've been pleasantly surprised that there hasn't been that much use, but I just keep an eye out right now, especially when I'll show you some of the video technology that's coming through, for seeing a politician say something that just seems really off, and it could well be just AI generated. Just as an example, so Runway ML is a tool that enables you to do text to video in a prompt, and then it also now enables you, just a month ago, enables you to do image to video. So you create a fantastic starting image in Midjourney, and then you animate it. And this is, you get a 4-second animation here, and this is now up to 16 seconds. You're getting text to audio as well. So you text to speech. Listen to this.
Oh.
Hey, James.
Yeah, who's this?
Hey, James. It's Alexander from Tesla Motors. How's your day going so far?
It's going pretty good, my man. How about yourself? You said from Tesla, right? It's the car company?
Yeah, that's right. I'm calling from Tesla Motors, the car company. Did you have any trouble or questions while customizing your car on our website?
So I'm not sure I really, of all the amazing things you could do with that technology is to have a cold call, sales call, I don't know. But, again, every time you pick up the phone now, you've got no idea really, what or who is on the other end of it. And this is, I'll just go back to that. This is Joshua Zhu. This is the founder of a company called HeyGen, and this is from like 2 weeks back.
In the early days of computer programming, a significant historical anecdote is known as Grace Hopper and the bug. In 1947...
Okay, so that's not actually Joshua Zhu. That's an AI-generated avatar. And HeyGen costs, it's a freemium model, but it's about $20 a month. And he's basically saying that this is going to be available to everybody. You're going to be able to have your personal avatar with basically photorealistic features and voice probably within the next month or two. Okay, so again, when you're on team, I love this because this makes me scalable, right? So you can script this as much as you like. But again, you've got no idea now on a video call who or what is on the other end. Just other examples of generative AI, right? So you've got text to 3D worlds, and this is research from Meta, Make a Video 3D. You've got neural radiance field technologies. This is where you can take a whole bunch of two-dimensional photos, and then AI will stitch them together into a nearly perfect 3D model that you can then move around inside. So yeah, NERF, N-E-R-F now has a different word, different meaning to a sort of little gun. So my view on all of this is, we've seen these models coming through in the last year, but for specific modes, so text to text, text to video, text to image, and text to voice. But what's coming soon is you're just full multimodal AI. So you're going to be able to generate any different type of media and explore the compression of all the humanity that these models are trained on within them. And it's moving really, really fast, right? And this is going to be available to anybody with access to a mainstream software tool. So this is going to be rolled into Office 365. It's going to be rolled into Google, Canva, Adobe, all of the tools that we use from day to day. This generative AI is going to be inside that. Just going to talk through some other technologies that are coming, because this is shaping the world that we're heading for. And as Raf was saying today, I don't think this is part of our national debate, our political debate, as much as it needs to be. So, virtual reality, mixed reality, it's been on hold pretty much this, for a lot of this year, with all the last year's hype about the metaverse. Apple's Vision Pro announcement, which should be released next year, shows a vision of how this technology, it's taking longer to get there, but pretty soon you might be able to wear one of these, 4 or 8 hours a day and actually work and function within it. Likewise, Web3 decentralized computing, enables everything from cryptocurrency, social media, distributed identity. Again, this is having a massive down year. It burned through millions of dollars of capital. But recently you're seeing developments like WorldCoin. Has anyone got a WorldCoin ID? Yeah, no, they haven't sort of been operating in Aotearoa, but this is where you go and get your iris scanned, and then they give you some free cryptocurrency just by staring into one of their orbs. Quantum computing, quantum technologies are, after many, many years of promise. So these work on the principles of quantum mechanics, which have been known for 100 years now. But you're starting to see venture capital flowing into quantum technology, quantum computers. This is Google's Sycamore computer, which recently carried out a computation that would have taken the fastest supercomputer today, 47 years, carried out in a few seconds. Seeing 3D printing coming through. This is a satellite bracket from an Auckland company called Zenith Technica, and this is beautifully evolutionarily designed by AI to be to optimize for weight and strength. You've got the largest 3D printers in the world. You've got 3D printed buildings. You've got the smallest 3D printer in the world. This is 25 micron resolution from Formlabs. You've got 3D printed food. On the left is plant-based steak from Novameat, and on the right, 3D printed plant-based salmon from Revo Foods. And again, looking at the shape of our economy, the investment in plant-based synthetic foods is going through the roof. We're seeing 24/7 robotic science. So this is probably the thing that excites me the most about AI. It's just going to accelerate science. This is a lab that's now able to operate 24 hours, just sort of doing experiments and just with a robot mixing chemicals. We're seeing robots basically able to completely automate logistics. This is a UK online supermarket chain, Ocado. This is a few years ago they opened this warehouse. Thousands of robots zooming around a grid and to pack groceries, right? And so they're able to process 65,000 orders a day when they first opened, and it's all operated by a warehouse hive mind. I think it's completely hypnotic to watch. And at the other end of robots, you've got robots in the field now. So this is a laser weeder from Carbon Robotics. It operates 24/7 again, and it basically no pesticides required anymore. Basically, it uses machine vision, identifies a weed, and zaps it. Yeah, and so there's machines deciding which species should live or die. It's not a problem at all. AlphaFold is from DeepMind. This is a technology which it's an AI protein folding system that is now able to solve the problem of protein folding, and this is going to accelerate biotechnology enormous amounts. I'll keep going, right? So the costs of renewable energy are plummeting. We've got government-owned Genesis Energy here in Aotearoa, basically purchasing a 52 megawatt agrivoltaic solar project up on the South Island this year, and that's due to open in 2024. This is really transforming the energy architecture of our society. And then just looking at a little bit further, we're starting to see experimental results for nuclear fusion. So this is the same reaction that powers the sun. And there's been labs in the US now that have actually generated more energy than they put in. Still a way to go, but you've got Sam Altman, who's a founder of OpenAI, basically talking about how they may be able to connect their nuclear fusion plant to the grid by the end of the decade. And then just to finish up, the other technology I'm looking at is mind-reading AI. And so this is research from Japan, where they used an MRI to scan what was going on in someone's brain when they were looking at an image. That's the top row. And then they used Stable Diffusion, one of those AI image models, to recreate what the person was seeing. And so, there's real fundamental questions here about, are our thoughts going to be private in the future? So in the book, I basically talk about 15 general-purpose technologies, and I, go into the details on those. And again, my fundamental question is, how do we respond and leverage these new technologies to help us get to the future that we want? And I think this is an economic strategy question. So, where do we want to play as a country with our economy? Do we want to? Well, at the moment, we turn grass and cows into milk. We bash wood and with nails, and we build houses. And do we want to continue to do that in 20 years' time, or do we want an economy that's far more complex and precise and automated? And so, do we want to be making the machines that make the products? Do we want to be making the machines that make the machines that make the products? Or do we want to be making the machines that make the machines, and so on? And I think fundamentally, I just don't see that debate around Aotearoa's economic strategy being driven by these emerging technologies that are coming through. And that would be where I would like to ask the question of our politicians when they come in later on this year. How is technology going to influence the future of this country, and what are you going to do about it? So that's where I'll leave it right now. Thanks very much. It's great to be here. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks.
Thank you. We're gonna take a
down on
seat
the,
and do
sofa.
some Q&A. For a minute there, I thought you were going to invite a politician back up on the stage. Like, shit, no, please don't.
Yeah, I told you it was the first time I've done the slides, so there's probably about as much to go. Yeah.
That was lovely. I loved it. I played around with Hey Jen in the last couple of weeks, trying to work out if I could get myself to do the EVAC
Joshua's,
housekeeping.
yeah.
'Cause
Yes.
that's the boring part. And then I thought, if I do it too good, I might not get invited back. I could just be AI generated. The speed of this emerging technology is both exciting and a little bit frightening. Do ethical frameworks like the Hippocratic license actually help? Or what's going to...
I don't know that particular framework. I mean, the way I look at it as a data scientist would, if I'm honest. And so, there's two approaches to ethics. One is prescriptive, which is, this is right and this is wrong. And that's everyone's got a position on a spectrum on any particular ethical question. I think if you then pull up out of that and did a analysis of all 8 billion people on the planet, and what they think are right and wrong, and how that's distributed as a data set, then that would be descriptive. And so, from an ethical perspective, I think you've got to stand almost outside the question, even though one might have one's own convictions. And then, as 8 billion people on the planet, where on any particular issue, there'll be sort of clusters of opinions about certain issues. And really, it's like, how do you then move that cluster from A to B? And is there a will to do that? So, I find it difficult to engage with sort of ethical questions around technology because my opinions are only 1 in 8 billion.
Yeah. And possibly a similar question around how can governance step in to stop the gender, race, able bias in AI as well as fact checking.
Yeah.
Those AI.
So the inherent bias that's inside these AI models is a well discussed phenomenon. Effectively, they're sort of holding a mirror up to society and to the data that they've been trained on. Again, just having a software development background, I just sort of see these as bugs, and that once we've identified these bugs, that we can go and fix them. And I think you're starting to see, quite a lot of that happening in these large language models, in these large image models, is that they're finding the biases being represented, and then retraining the models on more diverse data sets, all with different weights. Yeah.
Nice. What do you think, or how do you think AI and machine learning is going to affect New Zealand's digital growth in the coming years?
So in the book, I think one of the biggest questions I have is, what do we still have sovereignty? And so, as a country, we take technology from the rest of the world, particularly, 5 large US technology companies. And, we don't, we literally just buy a license to, I won't name them, but, the big cloud companies and the big software SaaS businesses. And so, my question there is, how do, we, on the one hand, we can influence that. So I was at a panel the other day and someone said, well, the boardroom of Microsoft is just 1 phone call away or 2 phone calls away. And I just pushed back. I said, is that actually our national technology strategy, is to phone up Microsoft or phone up Amazon? And I would really like to see, and there's a bunch of people in the room here making amazing technology. And I would like to see some of that being deployed into our national, these new institutions that we're going to have to create to keep up with the pace of technology change. And just to maintain optionality, right? So, just basically to keep these technology companies sharp, so we've always got an option to do it ourselves. And so, I was, open source development, software and hardware, and I see, the guys from Catalyst here, a big shout out to them. But I think that's a major direction that government should be investing in, is open source capability, so that we can actually go by ourselves in partnership with all of the other countries around the world as well. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you. We're out of time.
Great.
Damn it. Please give one last round of applause to Ben Reid. Thank him for coming. Woo-hoo. All right, it's just about lunch. You're not allowed to move though, so I've got a sponsor. Oh, I feel like there's only about 5 people playing the game now. I would love to extend a big thank you to one of our gold sponsors, ASX. They are the global leader in Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar financial markets, one of the top 10 securities exchanges in the world, and attracts company listings from all around the globe. Make sure you catch up with Blair and Ajita, who are here at the summit. Talk about getting listed. Start your own listing. That'd be exciting. And we've got a short video from ASX.
The S&P ASX All Technology Index brings together for the first time companies across a range of industries whose businesses are primarily technology focused.
I think there's going to be a real benefit to the market from having a technology index. It will be easier to identify all of these similar tech stocks across the market.
I really welcome the collaboration between the S&P and the ASX around the All Tech Index, because what it does is creates more focus on the technology industry, more opportunities for investors, and more opportunities for emerging businesses, companies in the sector to gain access to capital.
Thanks, ASX. All right, lunch is sponsored by Datacom. We love Datacom for sponsoring us lunch. Thank you. Woo! Yes. God, good, you're on it now. Go and re-energise, get some food, play the winning wheel, have 00 consultant coffee, recharge to be back at 1:50.